And then that only leaves the rumor mill, which is not going to be a slouch section this week either. We have brand new stuff. This week we're hearing whispers of a classic kaiju going to be making an appearance in the next Godzilla movie, a potential return to the world of Mindhunter, which super stoked there, but it's going to be very unique if the rumors are to be believed. Also rumored details on the MCU's VisionQuest series, kind of huge there. With the speculation on the new God of War game, the setting therein is going to be familiar but different, as well as some news on the casting for Dune Messiah, which suggests some major departures from the book. So we're going to get to all of that. There's a little bit more. Let's get rolling.
Maybe. It's classified.
Welcome, nerds, to the Clips channel. This is the reason why I'm convinced most people watch The Week in Nerddom as a whole. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, over on the main channel, Generally Nerdy, this is a small portion of the main show that I do on that channel called The Week in Nerddom. We talk about movie news and gaming news and comic books and so on and so forth. And we talk about the rumor mill as well, which, you know, that's why you tuned in, because you want to hear all of the juicy gossip as to what's going to be happening in the pop culture sphere of things, comic book movies, comic books, etc., etc. We get into every aspect of the nerddom here as it pertains to what is rumored to be happening, or we're going to kill some rumors, or we're going to shoot some stuff down based on the weakness of the person who is leaking the information, the rumor monger, if you will. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Let's jump into the rumor mill, shall we? I'm going to cut in here real quick, nerds, and just remind you that we have a channel partner, DUBBY. See where we can get that in focus. DUBBY! Hi, DUBBY! Yeah! Channel partner DUBBY. Drinks like this, the jugs, this like 30 servings in here. It comes out to roughly $1 per serving. So one serving is approximately 8 to 10 ounces. If you do like I do and you drink them in bigger things like this, then you usually are probably going to use 2 servings, but that's still $2. Whereas, you know, you spend $5 at the gas station to get an energy drink there. So there's that. But also when it comes in a powder like this, if you're starting your physical fitness journey like I kind of am these days, then you can mix the caffeine with the nootropics and the brain power stuff with your protein, and you can be getting a little bit of a really awesome pre-workout going there. So yeah, we're not going to do a long spot for them this week, but just know that they're there. You can go to dubby.gg and go check out all the things they have. They are the only energy drink maker that does a s'mores flavored energy drink. I just ordered mine, so it'll be here in a couple of days, and I will let you know just how delicious it is, but I expect it to be pretty delicious. So there's that. And then code at checkout is Generally Nerdy, all one word, and you get 10% off of everything in your cart. So not just the drinks, but like if you get a shaker bottle or you get the hydration drinks, because they have more than just energy drinks, they have hydration stuff as well, which is also dope. There's merch. They have a million different kinds of shaker bottles. It's good stuff. I appreciate the people over at DUBBY. They're super helpful. They're super awesome for partnering with the channel. Go check them out. Once again, dubby.gg, code Generally Nerdy for 10% off at checkout. Thank you very much, nerds. Let's get back to the show. All right, so this rumor mill, we have no confirmations or refutations outside of the Spaceballs 2 thing, but I think we've already covered that. So I just wanted to make sure we said that just in case we hadn't said it before. Spaceballs 2 was a rumor. We covered it here and now it's happening. So there you go. Rumor mill confirmation. We also have no new sources for old rumors. We just have new rumors. So let's get into these new rumors. First up is literally a giant rumor. Godzilla, the next Godzilla movie, next Godzilla X Kong, is going to be called Supernova. That is not the rumor. The rumor here is that part of the reason that it's going to be called Supernova is because we're going to be getting Space Godzilla in this movie. Hopefully hopefully they can finally get it through their heads that the people matter less than the monsters in this. The kaiju are the attraction here, so let's focus on the kaiju and stop trying to shoehorn a bunch of people stories in there. But either way, Super Godzilla, or Space Godzilla rather, sorry, as the villain is, I don't know, is kind of a tall order for people who aren't into the deep cuts of the Godzilla lore, I think. And maybe not, maybe there's a way to do that, and it's been a little while since I've watched anything beyond the black and white Godzilla movies, but yes, any new kaiju that is from those older movies is totally worth it to me, so I'm super stoked about that. This one comes from somebody who is part of the project. It's an allusion that they made in an interview, and not like they didn't directly say, hey, we're doing Space Godzilla, because I'm not under an NDA, so I can tell you everything. That didn't happen, but they did allude to the fact that it's going to be Space Godzilla, so that kind of bumps it up a little high, but I still do think it's a little bit of a tall order to put Space Godzilla into a Godzilla movie, because not exactly like on the tip of people's brains when it comes to Godzilla villains, right? So we're gonna put this one about 70% likely that we will be seeing Space Godzilla in Godzilla X Kong Supernova. From there, our next rumor has to do with the MCU. This one is a little directionless, which honestly is kind of bumping it up towards its favor, but we have an unannounced project, which we know there are a number of unannounced projects. We see their slots on the release schedule, but we have one of those unannounced projects in the works is reportedly going to be a Hercules project. Now, the reason that kind of seems a little bit nebulous is because the rumor goes on to say that it has not been decided officially yet if it is going to be a movie, a special presentation on Disney Plus, or a series. We do know that at some point they did cast the role of Hercules for Thor: Love and Thunder, I'm pretty sure is when we got it. It was Brett Goldstein, though, comedian Brett Goldstein, who was cast to play Hercules. And so very possibly he's going to be returning, though again, it did not specify that he would be the one wearing the Hercules outfit, if you can call it that. So kind of the vagaries are playing to its favor, but also because it is so incredibly vague, I feel like that is playing less than normal when we're dealing with vagaries. So I think it's likely because they already have him cast, and also the fact that there's no specificity as to whether it's going to be a show, special presentation, or a movie, kind of playing its fact in its playing well for it. Playing well for it. So we're putting this about 60% that there will be some sort of Hercules project in the MCU in the not too distant future. Next up, we have VisionQuest on the list. This is kind of persistent rumor, but new source, kind of a new way to look at it, is why it didn't go in new sources for old rumors. So the rumor is that this series is going to feature, to some degree, Wiccan, Scarlet Witch, and Agatha as a ghost. We already know that we're not going to get the Scarlet Witch. So honestly, I'm changing this because I had this up higher, and then I totally just remembered that Elizabeth Olsen said that she's done playing Scarlet Witch. So I'm going to drop this a little bit, actually. We're going to go on the other side of 50%. But yeah, so we know for sure that Elizabeth Olsen is not coming back. So that part of this rumor is shot dead. But they have cast, to a certain degree, Wiccan, and also Agatha coming back as a ghost. I'm sure she really wants the paycheck, so I can't see why that wouldn't happen. But taking this rumor at face value for all three of them to be coming back, I don't think that's happening. So that's kind of shooting it in the foot here for the percentage-wise. We're going to say about 40% likely this happens. I do think that Wiccan probably will be there, and I would not be surprised, though I could go either way with the Agatha thing. I just really don't think we're going to see Scarlet Witch. From there, though, let's talk about Mindhunter over on Netflix. This is a show that was produced, a show ran rather, by David Fincher, who is the greatest living director, in my opinion, bar none. Like, I don't know that I appreciate anybody's work as much as I appreciate Fincher's. And honestly, season 1 of Mindhunter is a very precise example of why I love Fincher so much, because the entire, just cinematography wise, the entire first season of this show is shot on a tripod. Every camera in this show is on a tripod. It is absolutely stable. There's no handheld motion where they're trying to make you sick when you watch the show. None of that. It is button up on a tripod, just expertly shot, and using it like it's telling the story. And then one of the scenes in the final episode is the only scene in the entire first season that is shot handheld, and it is for a very specific reason, and it is done to a very excellent effect. And that's all I'm going to say, because we're not talking about things like that. We're talking about rumors. The rumor for Mindhunter, sorry, I went off on a little tangent. Rumor for Mindhunter is that we will, in fact, be getting a third season, but little caveat to that, it's not going to be a traditional third season. It's going to be presented in 3 separate parts, and those 3 separate parts will play out effectively like 3 2-hour movies. So 3 episodes effectively for volume 3, as Netflix likes to call their seasons, and each of those episodes will be 2 hours long. I'm super hopeful that that is absolutely for sure, but I don't know. The source on this one is pretty good, but it's the only source. Usually I can confirm this stuff from other sources, and that didn't really happen. So because I just want to play it a little bit safe, we're going to split the difference, go right up the middle. It could go either way. We've heard a number of different rumors about season 3 for Mindhunter over the course of the last couple years, since it's been canceled kind of over on Netflix. But also Fincher's doing really good stuff for Netflix these days, so like I can understand why they'd be like, all right, let's give it one last go. So like, yeah, there's enough on both sides that you could really make the strong argument either way. So we're gonna say 50%. And then our next one is a video game rumor. This is God of War. Apparently the next game is going to be Greek themed, so we're moving from Norse mythology into Greek mythology, which, if that was the extent of the rumor, I'd be like, yeah, 100%. Of course we're going to go that direction, because that's where we were before. I guess it was Roman was the mythology before. Roman gods? No, they were the Greek gods. So we're going back into the Greek gods. Yeah, that makes sense. But then the rumor does go on to say that they're trying to rush the game out so that it is out in 2026. Everyone's kind of trying to really fill up their lists, and there's a lot of stuff being shuffled around. So if they can bump something up and make a little bit of money before somebody else can step on their toes, I can understand why they would want to do that. So it's not really killing it as much as maybe it would otherwise. We're going to say about 80% likely. Generally speaking, video game rumors, from the very few sources I have for such things, are usually pretty spot on, so no reason to think it would be any less likely. And then our final rumor, the regular rumor, because we do have some speculation for this episode, but our final regular rumor for this episode has to do with Dune 3, aka Dune Messiah. At least we're presuming that it's going to be Dune Messiah, because this rumor is a rumor for a cast, and if this is true, then it might not be billed as Messiah. It might be billed as 3, and then they cover the stuff that happens in Messiah, and then also some of the stuff that happens in Children of Dune. All right, so let's get to the actual rumor. I'm totally preambling this to death. So the rumor is that we have cast the children of Paul and Chani. So Ida Brooke is rumored to have been cast as Ghanima, and Nakoa-Wolf Momoa, aka Jason Momoa's son, has been cast as Leto II. So that is interesting, because the implication there, so the course of events through the second book of Dune, aka Dune Messiah, if you have not read it, then this is not really ruining much. Chani and Paul have babies, even though they're not technically married. Chani is his concubine, and he doesn't really shack up with the wife. But Chani and Paul have 2 kids. Throughout the events of Dune Messiah, Chani is pregnant, and then she gives birth, but they are just little small children by the time the book ends. They are not teenagers. These 2 actors are at the very youngest teenagers. I'm pretty sure they're both pushing into their 20s. I didn't look at their, didn't look at their bios to see how old they are exactly, but they're not babies. They're not toddlers. They're older than that. So the implication there is that we're going to see them as teens to some degree. Now, could we have some sort of vision of the future like we had in the first Dune movie where we got to see Paul's little sister as an adult? Maybe, but if that's the case, then why would you go with, I don't know who Ida, whatever the hell her name is, Ida Brooke, I don't know who that is, but I know who the Momoa kid is because of his dad, so that's a fairly high profile actor for someone to be on, although I guess Anya Taylor-Joy, also a really high profile actor, especially when they chose to put her in as Leto's little sister, or as Paul's little sister, so I'm brain farting her name, I do apologize. So, there's just crazy implications there, but it could just be for a really brief cameo. We don't know yet. Denis has been pretty good about sticking to the story in general. Like, obviously, he had to take some sort of creative liberties in order to make it fit, even in the 6 hours of movie that we have so far. So there's going to be some creative liberties taken with the second book as well for the third movie. There's enough here that I'm really leaning that this is probably legit. I'm gonna play it a little bit safe and say 70% likely that we'll be seeing Ghanima and Leto the second, but I do think there is a pretty strong possibility that will happen. So that is what we have for our regular rumors. Let's talk about speculation. And honestly, I called it. I'm gonna say it again since the movie doesn't come out for another couple weeks, but I totally called it. Fantastic Four mid. At the beginning of the year when we were doing our predictions for the year, that's what I said then. After all of the leaks and all of the evidence for what is actually going to be in the movie, and even the current rumors, the current stock of rumors for what we're likely to see, I think the movie itself is going to be disappointing because it's not going to be like this big earth-shattering event. I think there's going to be very key information as far as moving forward in the MCU, but I am putting my money on the fact that this movie is going to be just total middle of the road. It might turn a profit, but it's not going to hit $1 billion kind of movie. It might turn a little bit of profit. It's going to do better than Thunderbolts. I will say that for sure, but I don't know that that's a very high bar to set. I do think they will make some money on it. I just don't think it's going to be the money they're looking to make on it. So yeah, that's my little bit of speculation. I just wanted to reiterate that before, again, we get to that point in the release schedule, and then I said it twice. Anyway, so that's what we got for the rumor mill this week, nerds. Thank you very much.
Subscribe. That is all.
Thank you very much, nerds, for tuning in. If you want to level up your nerdy, geeky, pop culture knowledge, then don't forget to subscribe and do all of the things. Go check out the main channel, Generally Nerdy, for the larger portion. Again, you get all of these sections into one convenient video over on Generally Nerdy. The name of the show is The Week in Nerddom. Thank you for checking out this clip. We will see you next time. Before we go, though, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, probably here.